This is Rise. Let's lock in with the goal of changing one life at a time. Yours. Together, let us rise up, inspire, strengthen, and elevate our minds. It's time to Rise on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, my name is Dr. Saran Heron, and welcome to Rise. Today we are going to talk about learning the power of letting go, stop worrying, and enjoy life every day. How to better yourself and rise with confidence, turning your passion into purpose and begin to live again. Valerie Galloway, author of Steal, Kill, and Destroy, a spiritual guide to overcoming addiction and loss, and a certified ICF coach with a bachelor's degree in community health and a master's degree in social science, whose goal is to help people stop worrying and start living. Whether you're struggling with grief, a major life change, addiction, or dependency, or concerned that your prospect seems less than bright, Valerie Galloway will empower you to tap into your own internal resources and trade worry for wonder and joy. She is here to share with us her story, her work, and empower you to change your mindset. Valerie Galloway, welcome to Rise here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, Dr. Heron. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on your show today. It's definitely a pleasure and a privilege for me to be here with you.
Tell us about the degrees you hold and what led you to choosing your major.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a professional ICF PCC licensed certified coach with the Erickson Academy. I hold a master's degree in social science and a bachelor's degree in community health and also an associate degree in commercial art and advertising. I think, Dr. Heron, it's just been a journey for me and I call myself an empowerment coach. My niche is empowerment coaching. And so I have a mantra, and it's breaking the chains that bind you. And it's really about releasing yourself from all kinds of bondages that we as a society, especially now, given these times we're living in, we all have our issues. And, for me, coaching, my niche in empowerment coaching, I teach empowerment to people to help free them from those types of shackles.
Wonderful. Now, you're a certified life coach, which is popular in today's society. Where did you obtain your training?
Oh, from the Erickson Academy. I was working at a major New York City hospital, and they pretty much, because I was working with a lot of college students in internship programs, teaching them, those that want to have hands-on experience with healthcare, working with patients directly in the medical field. And so this was a training that my job awarded me as a result of, the role that I played for the hospital.
Wonderful. Share with us about tapping into one's internal resources and trading worry for joy.
Well, Dr. Heron, I believe the path to transformation, as individuals begins when you have a clear vision of what you want and commit to taking those action steps towards facilitating it. So as an empowerment life coach, I co-pilot a journey of revelation to help people envision and activate their ultimate dreams, goals, and visions. I help uplift, I edify, I encourage, I guide and support one's drive and or divine purpose in life. You mentioned purpose. I'm all about purpose. So empowerment coaching helps people kind of self-actualize their life goals and their aspirations. And so my overall purpose is to help them identify areas of their lives they may want to improve upon and provide inspiration and tools to help facilitate it by helping them make measurable impacts that propel my coachees towards achieving their ultimate objectives.
Interesting. Why do you think we all spend so much time worrying about various things in life, whether it's about family, relationships, job, or just our current situation?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do, Dr. Haran, with the current times we live in, especially after COVID. I don't know about you, but to me, life seems that much more intense. We live in what I call a microwave society. Everything's so instant. Our attention spans have diminished. Everything's like quick. And I really, it's sad to me because it takes away from the human element of human contact. You can't even go into a store anymore without it being automated on some level where you check yourself out. This wasn't the case 10 years ago. There was more human contact. And as we move away from that, it's almost like life becomes more robotic.
Now, what are some things that you worried about prior to being a life coach?
Oh, wow. I would say it really ties in with the loss that I've experienced and having to kind of redefine my life with my son. So that could be a very difficult journey for someone that's used to having a partner to do life with, financially, mentally, emotionally. And so, I've kind of had to figure things out now on my own. And, but the one thing I won't allow, Dr. Haran, is to go down a road where I could potentially take myself out from worry.
Now, you lost your son's father. Speak to us about that moment in time. How did you learn to cope? I know you mentioned, you had to go through different changes and adjustment, but tell us about that moment.
Yeah. Well, Wednesday, April 17th, 2019, it was around 11 p.m. And at that point, Dr. Haran, my life forever changed in that instant with one devastating phone call. I remember the paralysis, sort of like freezing in my tracks. It was as if the world had completely stopped in that one moment. I just couldn't wrap my head around what was being said in that overwhelming, kind of overpowering, shocking second. I remember falling to the floor in such tremendous emotional grief, agony, and pain. My book is based on the untimely death of this person I'm referring to, someone I truly loved and lost because of what I believe was the result of satanic circumstances. And I write about in my book. And I wrote about how our loved one was lured, seduced, incapacitated, and finally destroyed by Satan's agenda to terminate him.
What advice can you provide to our listeners today that they have lost a partner, a friend, a mother, a father, or a child based on your experiences?
Well, for the longest time, I blamed and tortured myself with remorse for his death. I condemned myself with tremendous guilt. So first and foremost, you really have to see a situation for what it truly is. And so for me, that was a lot of soul searching. That was a lot of connecting to my spirituality. It was a therapeutic journey. I would say really get in touch with the pain. You have to feel that pain and go through it. And for me, it was a therapeutic journey from pain through perseverance. So you've got to sort of find the time to really, go through it and you have to balance. And that's the perseverance I'm referring to, because through that perseverance, Dr. Haran, I found my purpose and I finally found peace. So it's a thing where for me, I mean, we're all different in terms of how we experience life and especially loss. But for me, it took a lot of, connecting to my inner spirit. It took a lot of, meditation, journaling. It took a lot of finding ways to, self-affirmation, and just connecting to your inner soul. It's very important, because if you don't have, see, we're all spiritual. We're all spiritual beings. We live in a spiritual realm, and you really have to kind of understand how, the spirit realm works. And so in order to really come to terms with worry, with grief, with loss, you have to find ways to turn inward. For me, it was introspection. It was a lot of introspection. So that's first.
You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran Heron, and today we're talking to Valerie Galloway, author of Steal, Kill, and Destroy, a spiritual guide to overcoming addiction and loss, and a certified ICF coach with a bachelor's degree in community health and a master's degree in social science, whose goal is to help people stop worrying and start living. Valerie is here to empower you to tap into your own internal resources and trade worry for joy. She is here to share her story with us and her work and empower you to change your mindset. Now, Valerie, I know you shared some great experiences and some examples of, a hard time for you. But I want to know, why did you want to commit yourself to now helping others?
Well, Dr. Heron, through reading my story, I hope to serve as an inspiration to help people, as I mentioned before, unshackle their own chains of bondage, to also walk in freedom like I learned how to. I want to help individuals in pain who've lost loved ones specifically, especially tragically. I want to help people release themselves from their inner cycle of negative self-talk. It's a mindset shift. To answer your question before, it's the way you look at the situation, and turn yourself away from self-sabotage. And so, my book, is also to serve to help those struggling with addiction and loved ones who have lost hope in their own sobriety or in redeeming themselves. While I'm just a small cog on a giant revolving, never-ending wheel, it seems, I'm just trying to uncover, expose and obliterate this enormous addiction epidemic cycle from continuing to repurpose itself and its deadly fate in people's lives.
Now, you're the author of Steal, Kill, and Destroy, a spiritual guide to overcoming addiction and loss, as you mentioned earlier. How did you come up with that title of that book?
Oh, because as a Christian, addiction, steal, kill, and destroy is a biblical scripture. Well, not addiction, but steal, kill, and destroy is a biblical scripture around John 10:10, how the enemy comes to steal your life and tries to destroy you ultimately. And so I just tied it into addiction, which is a big part of the story that I wrote about, and how the enemy ultimately took this person out through depression, the addiction leading to depression, leading to death.
And how do you believe this book will help one who's listening, probably even right now, to overcome any issues in life? Well,
so when I wrote the book, so the publishers, they wanted to know if it had enough redeeming qualities. So I wrote it when I was in a dark place. And so when they decided to publish me, it was because they saw redemption in the book. And what I mean by that, it's a book that sort of outlines a journey of someone that dealt with loss, but rose from that experience to finding a purpose from it. I feel as a Christian, God utilizes our inner gifting, which we all have, these ordained gifts. And I found a way to overcome my own pain through helping others. And let me just say, if I can only have one opportunity, even if it's only to enlighten one person in the world through my book, which is to reveal Satan's evil agenda in your own life. If I only impact just one person to seek God for redemption from it, I would have achieved much.
Now, share with us some tools that you learned from your training that you apply in your life coach sessions when you're coaching clients.
Yeah, well, it's all about helping people envision what it is ultimately they want to attain in life. What is it that they're passionate about? There's a saying about how discontent can help. So you tap into what is it that you're discontent about, and what is it that you feel, the most enlivened about. And therein lies the beginnings of understanding your purpose, because whatever you're passionate about, that is what has been instilled in you internally in terms of your inner spirit. And so when you start to, really, this is what I mean about the introspection. So obviously there's a process to getting there, but in a nutshell, it's basically learning to discover your internal gifts and talents. And so through that process, which starts with things like doing a vision board, things like, for me personally, my biggest, tool that I use for myself is I record myself. And I listen to myself daily. It's a mindset shift. You want to get into a positive way of thinking. And in my book, Dr. Heron, I do have in chapter 6, it's all about walking out the steps of remaining positive. And there's a process to that. And my listening to my recordings every day is helping to stay in that positive mode, because, you get a lot of negative self-talk. And if you lean in that direction, that's how Satan starts to take you out. So it's it's a mindset of transformation towards positive way of looking at your life. I mean, there's more to it, obviously, but it's all about mindset.
Now, Valerie, you believe no matter what is happening, one can let go of the burden of worrying, which may sound difficult. Tell us, at least one small step that someone listening could at least start to take to accomplish that.
Because I come from a more spiritual standpoint, obviously for me, it was connecting to the Bible and having a relationship with God. But, not everyone's spiritual in that sense. So perhaps if, whatever it is, whatever higher power a person has, I would say definitely meditation, because you got to get into a quiet space first, in order to really connect to your inner core. For me, that's how it began, our role here on earth is instilled in the grand schema of our respective purpose. I believe that. And it's my mission to dismantle the kingdom of darkness and make the kingdom of God present himself wherever I go. And so to me, that's connecting to the Bible, but not everyone may subscribe to that. So whatever helps you get into a quiet way of meditation, I would say, finding ways to just connect inwards is so vital to the process.
Now, Valerie, what resources did you utilize as you too had your own experience as you had to overcome grief? What are some other things that you had to do that you didn't mention prior?
Yeah, no, for me, I leaned into all the thought leaders of today. I took a lot of self-development courses, trainings, and I went more in the direction of self-development. And again, it all started from an internal self-evaluation. And as I started to come out of that shell. I really believe in, seeking alternate ways to, find different ways to operate in life. Because, you can't grow from just knowing yourself. You have to sort of get out there in the world and see what's out there. And so for me, I align myself with the Tony Robbins of the world, the Mary Morrissey, the Bob Proctors. I'm that whole spiritual transformation, and learning about paradigms, things that, can hold you back, hinder your progress. It's all about shifting the way you look at life. Finding ways to look at life on a more positive note as opposed to negative, because it's that negativity. It's like quicksand, and that's the enemy in your ear. So you got to sort of get rid of all your psychological negative tapes. And so self-development was huge for me in that process of understanding how to do that.
You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran Heron, and today we're talking to Valerie Galloway, author of Steal, Kill, and Destroy, a spiritual guide to overcoming addiction and loss, and a certified ICF coach with a bachelor's degree in community health and a master's degree in social science, whose goal is to help people stop worrying and start living. Valerie is here to empower you to tap into your own internal resources and trade worry for joy. She is here to share with us her story, her work, and empower you to change your mindset. Now, Valerie, list ways you started to live again for those living who can, now begin like they want to live again as well.
Yeah. Well, again, it's an individual thing. And for me, dealing with loss was the most challenging experience in my entire life. And it wasn't just my loved one. It was my mother. It was my dog. My son and I, we have had many pets. So loss just seemed to be a recurring theme in our lives. So this was my story, to write about it. So that's why I was saying earlier, journaling for others might, help them. My journaling turned into a book, but it was a way of, as my story unfolds, of how I was able to push past and push through the darkest period of grief to find peace, in Christ's light on the other side of my overwhelming pain. And so my bereavement process is, although it's still a work in progress today, because I believe grief is a transition through multiple stages, but I've reached the final stage of acceptance and peace through writing about it. So, I think people have to discover ways to move forward, whatever that means to them, and live in spiritual harmony and embrace a peaceful life through, tapping into ways that brings them comfort. For me, it was writing a book.
Do you feel your experiences made you a stronger person today?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, question is, how do people cope? How do you move forward after you lose someone? How do you put one foot in front of the other and keep going? You got to find a way to break through that, to get over to the other side of it, And so not only did it culminate in a book, it culminated in a course. And that, Dr. Heron, was so essential, because you kind of got to get your mind off of it, and that's what I mean about moving from the negative space to the more positive space. It absolutely helped me move forward in finding solutions to establishing my own peace, because it was peace that I was after through all that worry.
And what's one advice you want to leave us with today and those listening to the program today, and empower them to change their mindset and rise?
Well, I would say, we're all designed to flourish and prosper. In my book, I talk about the process of the 6 Ps that I undertook. I evolved from overwhelming emotional pain into growing period of perseverance that ignited old passions. Thus, I discovered a purpose, which led to greater impact, influence, prosperity, and finally finding peace. So there's a process. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight. You kind of got to just find what it is for you that brings you out of that darkness. And as you can tell, it was a process for me. I went from pain to finally finding peace, but it wasn't overnight.
And how can someone listening connect with you as well as get a copy of your book?
Well, my website, I have two, but I would say Val Galloway, OWAY, lifecoach.com. You can also find me under mindset and empowermentcoach.com.
Thank you for being here, Valerie Galloway.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Heron. It was great being here with you.
And I just want to have a warm welcome to International Pride Institute, Inc. Evangelist Camille James. I know you listened in today's program. Can you offer some encouragement to our listeners?
Thank you, Dr. Heron, for having me on the program today. It's a pleasure to be here. I would like to speak to someone who is at a place of hurting, loneliness, lost, and feeling as if everything has been taken from you. Sometimes we feel as if the world is coming in on us. No one understands, no one cares, no one sees. But as we have heard from Miss Galloway, someone who was robbed and hit rock bottom, but still managed to rise above it all, with a determination, pushing through the darkness to find inner peace. We are here to let you know that you are not alone. You will and can make it. There is an open door that leads to life in abundance. I encourage each and every one to be strong, looking ahead, not looking at the past and what you could have or should have done. You're alive today. You have the breath of life. You can and will win and rise in greatness. Blessings always.
I appreciate you both taking the time to speak with us. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Saran Heron. I hope you learned the power of letting go, stop worrying, and start living the life that was designed for you. No matter how impossible things may look, tap into your inner power and rise up. Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Rise, available wherever you listen to podcasts, and always right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.